Helo, sut hwyl? Hugh Owens dwi. I'm Hugh, optician here at A1 Eyewear on Charles Street, Wrexham. So this is a short presentation on 5 ways to protect our eyes from visual loss through macular degeneration. So we won't cover the anatomy of the eye and the physiology in too much detail. If anyone does require more information, then feel free to email us or phone us to book a sight test, and we can go through things in more detail. But hopefully this will give you an overview of the condition, and then more importantly the factors that you can sort of implement to try and minimize visual loss as we get older. So what do we need to know, or what do you need to know about macular degeneration? So it's a condition that affects the central area of the retina at the back of the eye, which we'll demonstrate with some images in a minute, making day-to-day visual tasks such as reading, watching television, recognizing faces, driving, makes this progressively harder over time as the condition progresses, and it is the most common cause of severe sight loss in the developed world. Now this is a optomap image or scan of the retina at the back of the eye. This is the back of my right eye. So I generally advise patients to have this scan done, in that it shows a much wider area of the retina, and we can go into much more detail than a basic sight test where the optician comes close to you with the bright lights and shines the lights through the pupil, which would usually only enable the optician to cover this sort of central area. So the optomap in general gives a much more detailed view, but specifically with the macula, we are looking at the central area here. So if we zoom in on the same image, this is the area of concern with the macula. So this, thankfully, at the moment is a healthy macula. This would be a sign of macular degeneration progressing. So this would be referred to as dry macular degeneration. Some of you may have heard of the term dry and wet. So dry macular degeneration is the accumulation of drusen and pigmentation at the retina. So the yellow spots or yellow lumps and bumps here are called drusen, which is in a way waste deposits from the retina not clearing, and as these build up, then it will slowly start to affect the quality of central vision. Again, on the scan, a different filter called autofluorescence can make it easier to highlight the drusen or the dry macular changes, as you see with the white spots here. So that's dry macular degeneration briefly, and the points we'll cover later will be primarily to try and reduce or slow down or minimise the progression of dry macular degeneration, because it can, unfortunately, as this progresses, it increases the risk of wet macular degeneration, which is image a little dark, sorry, but I'm sure it's obvious for you to see where we'd hopefully have a healthy retina here. We've got blood pooling just underneath the macula. So what happens here, you have new blood vessels growing just behind the macula, and when these new blood vessels leak blood, unfortunately the effect on the vision is quite profound. You know, it'll cause significant visual loss, and often really overnight or in a matter of days there'll be a big deterioration in the vision, sometimes from coming close to the bottom of the chart to being right up to the top of the letter chart, the optician. So this is what we want to avoid ultimately. Now there is treatments for wet macular degeneration if it's detected and referred early enough. But in the main, the treatment is aimed at reducing further loss in vision And although in some cases we can improve the vision, or treatment will improve the vision, it'll rarely return to the level it was before. So this is really what we want to avoid. So this, it's often asked, what will macular degeneration look like, if I experience it? And it's difficult, even for me as an optician who's dealt with lots of patients over the years with the condition, to explain it fully. But I think this image probably captures it as well as possible, where looking straight ahead, there's almost a black hole or blur in the central vision. The peripheral vision remains, so it's important to stress that one doesn't go blind with macular degeneration. But if you imagine living with this in your central vision day to day, then obviously it makes almost all daily tasks, extremely difficult. So what can we do? So five things to consider. Number one is don't smoke. Preferably don't start smoking, but if you are a smoker, then again, if you can stop, then over time you can sort of reverse the risk induced by smoking. So there is a link there, unfortunately. So yes, don't smoke is top of the list. Not very exciting, I'm afraid, so far, but eat your greens. So kale, spinach, broccoli, leafy greens and coloured veg in general. But kale and spinach especially are the green veg with the highest content of lutein, which is a pigment that's particularly useful at protecting the macula. And we don't produce this naturally, so it can only come from what we eat. I should be careful also in a short presentation like this, that for some patients, specifically those who are on anticoagulants like your warfarin or apixaban, so blood thinners, sometimes too much green veg isn't recommended, but as a whole, in the context of what we're discussing today, the macular degeneration, then plenty of greens is good for the macula, to protect the macula. Another topic that we could do a full presentation on would be supplements. So if you don't feel that you have enough sort of intake of green veg, then antioxidant supplements or a multivitamin for the eye is an option, although I would advise a sight test, to discuss that with an optician in more detail before starting that. And the third point would be UV protection. So generally by UV protection, of course, we mean sunglasses, but protecting from UV can come in the form of staying in the shade or not exposing yourself to too much sun or wearing a hat. But to remember, if you are lucky enough to go to sunny climates, going abroad, or even in this country, spending time on seaside or walking the mountains, if I'd always try and remember, if it's the sort of conditions where you would normally put sun cream on, then it's advisable to be wearing good quality UV blocking sunglasses as well. Don't smoke, eat your greens, and UV protection. So on a lighter note, to come into points 4 and 5, would be red wine. So it has been found that the antioxidant resveratrol, if I pronounce that correctly, can potentially be beneficial. So if you are eating your greens, you can wash it down with a little bit of red. Does it mean that drinking a bottle of Malbec every day is good for eye health? Well, no, probably not, unfortunately. So moderation, as they say. But yeah, if you have a choice of drinking red or white, then I would probably opt red. And then the fifth point is regular eye examination. Whoever you may see as your regular optician, if it's here, great, or elsewhere, that's fine. But with the aid of scans and photographs like we've just demonstrated, it's possible to track or monitor for the progression of macular degeneration from 1 year or from one eye exam to the next. And if it's possible to detect these changes at an earlier stage, then the kind of prognosis for the vision is much better. So, in a nutshell, to wrap up, don't smoke, plenty of greens, and UV protection. So thank you for watching the short presentation. If you have any queries on macular degeneration specifically, or anything else that's more relevant to you, then by all means send us an email, hello@a1eyewear.co.uk, or if you want to book an eye exam, then if you contact the team on Wrexham 366 189, would be more than happy to help. Okay, hope you found this useful, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, hwyl wan, diolch yn fawr iawn.